me talk about some things. We've got this y equals, and this symbol around our x. Okay, we round down to an integer. So when you're looking at these, for instance, if I have 2.3 inside of there, we round to the integer below. Well, that would equal 2. If I have 2.9 inside this symbol, that would also round down. Even though it's closer to 3, these aren't normal rounding rules. Okay, anything between 2 and 3 would round down to 2. Now, if I just have a 3 inside there, that's 3. If I'm in the negatives, so if I have like negative 1.2, I've got to round to the integer below negative 1.2, and you're in the negatives, that would round down to the integer of negative 2. So you kind of get an idea of evaluating those. Okay, so when we're going to graph these, we're going to make a table. When you're doing the absolute value ones I just got done with in the last video, you don't really need to look at any decimals between integers. You can just put integers in your table. Here we're going to start at negative 3. Okay, and we are going to go to negative 2, but we got to look at what goes on in between those integers. Okay, so we're going to put, I'm just going to choose one decimal in between there, so I'll choose the one halfway in between at negative 2.5. So if I put negative 3 in there, well, if I have this and I round down, well, that's already an integer, that's negative 3. If I'm at negative 2.5, so if I'm at negative 2.5 inside of here, well, that's going to round to negative 3. Okay? All the decimals between negative 3 and negative 2 are going to round down to negative 3. And we'll take a look at the graph here in a second. If I'm at negative 2, I get negative 2. Negative 1 is going to be negative 1, but we got to look at what goes on in between there. So negative 2.5, that's going to round down to negative 2. And you're going to start to see a pattern develop. And then I get negative 1/2 or negative 0.5. Well, that's going to round down to negative 1 because all we have is that x inside the thing that makes us round them. Okay, if I have 0, it's 0. And you're going to kind of see if I have 0.5 and then 1, 0.5, you round to the integer below it, it's going to be 0. If I have 1, well, that's already an integer. 1.5 is going to round to 1. Okay, what does this look like? So if we go and graph this, okay, if we go and graph this, let's actually move down here a little bit, and let's draw our graph, okay, and you can do it right on your grid there. I'm going to draw my x and y axis, and I'm going to space units evenly apart here. Okay, so let's pull this back down a little bit. So at negative 3, we're at negative 3. So I'm going to go over to negative 3, down to negative 3, which is going to be about right there. And I'm going to put a, whoops, I got to get on my marker. I'm going to put a closed circle at negative 3. Okay, and I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. So at negative 3, we're at negative 3. Every little decimal in between negative 3, oops, I'm at negative 4, negative 3 there. Let's erase that a little bit. Let's undo that point. So we're at negative 3, negative 3. So negative 3 is going to be about right there. It's going to be a closed circle. And at negative 2.5, we're also at negative 3. But at negative 2, we go down to negative 2. So basically, we're going to put an open circle, and it's going to be a short little segment there, closed circle on the left, 1 unit in length. And then actually at negative 2 right here, we're at negative 2. So it jumps up at negative 2, we're here. So below it's going to be an open circle. So this short little step is 1 unit in length. And then we're going to, negative 1.5, we're at negative 2, all the way over to negative 1. So we're going to put a little open circle there. But then at negative 1, it jumps up to negative 1. So it's going to be a closed circle right here at negative 1, negative 1. Okay, then I got negative 1/2. I'm at negative 1, all the way over until I get to 0, and then it jumps up here to 0. So this is going to be, whoops, this is going to be an open circle. This is going to be a closed. Okay, short little segment. And you can kind of see the pattern. It's going to repeat itself. Well, this is going to go over to an open circle, and it's going to jump up. Because at 1, we're at 1 right here. At 1.5, we're at 1, so it's going to be here, over to an open circle. And there's kind of a repeated pattern here. Okay, so what I would like you to do at the end of these, they'd be closed circles on the left over, is just put dot, 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 that it continues that way, and dot, dot, dot. Now we have to identify domain and range. Now notice, this isn't a connected graph or a continuous graph, but where little segment ends, the next one starts. So the domain is still all reals. Okay, we only looked at one decimal in between integers. Okay, the range, now notice, it's not a connected graph. So the integer, in between integers on the y-axis, okay, so like right here is -3, -2, -1. Notice it's not in between those integers. It jumps up from -3 to -2 to -1 and so on. All integers in both directions, so we say the range is all integers. Okay, these next two that we're going to do on this page are called floor functions. They got a weird looking symbol. It's not absolute value, and we're going to learn that that is the greatest integer less than or equal to. You're going to always round down, and we call them floor functions as a result because you're rounding down. Okay, so here's what I'm going to go to a blank page here, and we have